what advice would you have to someone who is not crippled by fear, but they're just getting started in their entrepreneurship journey? They don't know if they're going to have that $1 million month.
Sell that first t-shirt, get that first coaching client, whatever you're doing, you can do it again and again and again and again.
How can someone younger begin to grow a network?
If somebody from that success, if somebody's a quote unquote millionaire, most of them are wanting and willing to help out people that are below them.
Fear of failure, it holds people back from even going after their dreams, from starting the business. It keeps them where they're at.
This is really bad, and it's manifested and come up a lot in my business journey, and some of the people I'm in business with. But it sounds really bad, but when you don't have another option, you make decisions that you normally wouldn't, but those are the calculated risks that you need to take to succeed.
Jake Setterlun, welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you so much for having me.
So you got into entrepreneurship at 19 years old. You've built companies that have failed. You've lost it all. You've also built successful businesses and have come back from losing everything. How did this journey of entrepreneurship begin?
Absolutely. Yeah, so good question. I was 19 years old in college. I was in school for engineering, and basically I had always wanted to be an inventor, so I was in school for engineering and got really into prototyping. And long story short, I had mentioned I want to have a prototyping business when I get out of school, and some family members were basically like, well, you should wait, get some experience, work for somebody else. And being a stubborn 19-year-old, I was like, screw that. I'm going to start this now. Why wait? So I started that prototyping business. And obviously, as everybody knows, you can start a business, but it doesn't mean you're going to get customers. So I learned marketing. And then from marketing, I really dived into that whole world of having, marketing agencies, that as a service, software, advertising, which has basically led me into what I do now, which is owning and operating a few different marketing and advertising agencies.
And with the companies that have failed, what led to that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've failed. I feel like throughout my whole career. Again, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and there's a lot. One of the first biggest failures that just sticks out to me is, it was me and a friend. We had gotten a couple clients paying us a couple $100s a month, so we weren't racking it in. We weren't even paying our bills, but we had a little bit of business money, and we ended up hiring a sales manager, which, there's a lesson there. Don't hire somebody on a salary to do sales for you because, realistically they need to be on commission and motivated. So that was definitely one of the first things that it's like, just because you hire someone doesn't mean that they're going to do a good job and doesn't mean they're going to grow your business. Another big learning lesson, big failure was, and probably the biggest from our career is I'd been doing this for a while. I got a new business partner, and we had just taken off. We had this offer for marketing for real estate agents. It was doing very, very well. We brought on a sales manager. Funny enough, he ended up doing really well because he was commission only this time around, and things just started growing. It's like super fast. Hired a lot of people, and to be able to support that growth, we outsourced our support team, and that really spiraled because when you don't have control over what's going on in your business, you don't have transparency. You really don't know what's going on. You can't make judgments. So we had grown. We were doing almost $1 million a month at that point, and we got to a point where it was like, hey, we need to start bringing this in-house because we don't have transparency. Clients were complaining about support, and the business basically crumbled back down to about $30,000 to $40,000 a month, and we've grown it back up since then. We've started other branches, but that's been probably the biggest and the hardest failure. Seeing the repercussions of having, a bad support team that's hiding stuff from you, that's completely outsourced. Yeah.
So being in the moment when you're at 30 to 40K a month, what is your mindset? Because that's percentage wise, that is an insane drop from over $1 million a month to 30, 40K.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I mean, we had a couple different key like leaders in the company. One of them that was on salary ended up, stopped taking pay, and us as owners, we had not gotten paid in almost a year because of the decline. But yeah, I mean, when you're in that position, I feel like there's two things that can happen, and not to speak ill will on my business partner. I'm still in business with him. Great guy. Like I have nothing good to say, but he was ready to close the doors, shut it down and move on and go get a job. And I feel like, there's that mentality, and then there's kind of where I saw it was like, hey, we can rebuild this. It took us 2 years to get to this point. We know what we're doing. Let's just rebuild. So we tested out another offer. It didn't work too well, and then we got into another one, and that was our kind of come up that we got back into it. And throughout that whole, when we got down to the 30 or 40, which was our lowest, we had, successfully transitioned into having, a completely in-house team. Before that, from the outsourced support team, we actually tried to build out an office in the Dominican Republic, and we didn't visit it. It's not like we were there. We found a random guy in a Facebook group was like, "Hey, can you set us up a support center?" So we tried that. That obviously didn't work. So it was it was a transition down spiral to that 30 to 40, and then a mindset shift when we hit that it was like, okay, can't get any worse, so let's rebuild and let's put our heads down and do what we know how to do. Yeah.
There's a significant fear of failure just among everyone, really. Everyone has it. So, how have you been able to keep persevering when you have failed? Because fear of failure, it holds people back from even going after their dreams, from starting the business. It keeps them where they're at. And you push through that, to start businesses. And then when you failed, you've been able to persevere through that and come back from it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and this is really bad, and it's manifested and come up a lot in my business journey, and some of the people I'm in business with. But the burn the bridges mentality, it sounds really bad, but when you don't have another option, you make decisions that you normally wouldn't, but those are the calculated risks that you need to take to succeed. Um, I think that has been by far the biggest thing because if you always have like, some kind of background job or something like that holding you back, it's super easy to wake up, go to a job and get paid. It's not easy to go out and get money from somebody, which is really what you're doing in business. You have to go get money from somebody to support the business, grow the business, and that's much harder. But if you burn the bridges, you don't have another option. I really truly believe anybody can make it happen if you work towards it and if you can work through the failures and the losses.
What would you say to someone who is crippled by the fear of failure, who's just stuck in the job, who's too scared to go out and to start the business, to pursue their passions, and they can see how their life is going to play out, but still that fear just has them crippled?
Yeah, I think it's tough. Thankfully for me, I did get started at a young age, so the worst thing that could happen is I went back home for the summer and, found a job with my parents. But so I can't speak towards the people that have families and kids and that kind of stuff. And major respect to those individuals because they're taking on more risk than I ever did. But I think at the end of the day, it's start chipping away. If you have this big goal, just do one thing every day. Do another thing, do another thing, do another thing. You're gonna hit road bumps, you're gonna hit blockages, but you're gonna see that, oh, I've come this far. I can get over this. And then every day just, do something a little bit harder. And I think that really comes down to self-confidence because if you have confidence in yourself and your knowledge, that's going to give you the ability to overcome any kind of situations, losses, or failures in your business.
What about the role of perseverance through the storms of life that are inevitable, that can push you off your path? What is the key to being able to persevere through everything that tries to hold us back?
Yeah, I think the way to persevere through those storms and get through those tough times is definitely having a solid routine. Get comfortable working on your business and going through the motions every single day. Because if you can dedicate 2 hours every single day, and I'm a big believer in like fitness and staying healthy too. So, work on yourself, but then also work on your business and have the routine of I do this every single day. For me, it's I work on each business an hour and a half every single day, and that's my routine, and that allows me to basically get through any of those kind of mental roadblocks. It's sticking to your routine and having really good habits, and working on that. That doesn't happen overnight. That takes years and years and years to develop. But once you have it and once you work towards it, it just kind of becomes second nature.
And what do you think about this new age, it seems, of entrepreneurship, seeing these younger people like my age, college age, where you were at, where a lot of social media content is, business oriented, people wanting to pursue their passions, pursue their dreams, where, years past we can look back and say the ideal goal was just to get a stable job, get the retirement, get the Roth IRA, and then just keep just grind out the 40 years. And now it's this new kind of age.
I mean, I respect it. I remember even back in my day, people would call me an old head because, I've been doing this for 9 years. But I mean, there were people before that, if to think back in my day, there was the Gary V's and, those type of individuals that it was grind, 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 grind. And I definitely fell into that. But I am 100% a proponent of anybody going out there and trying to do their online stuff, have success, have some kind of freedom in their work. I don't think it's for everybody, but I do think everybody can have some kind of freedom, whether it is through their job or it is through some kind of business that they start. So at the end of the day, I think it's an overall good because even if it doesn't get somebody starting a business, I had a friend, great friend from high school that went off and tried to do business stuff, and his business has never worked out, but he's the CEO, or not CEO, CMO, apology, does marketing for one of the biggest apps in the App Store. I won't get into it, but yeah. So I think even if you're, self-improving and wanting to own a business and you don't get that goal, you're still going to land at a much better spot than you probably would have been without ever trying, anything.
And it comes back to skill acquisition, like you just talked about. What are you going to gain
Exactly.
from going out and trying the different businesses, the podcast here? What are your thoughts on growing a network? How can someone younger begin to grow a network where it seems all it is just these multimillionaires on the internet flexing, and there's no real social kind of networking place that we can go to without having a following?
Absolutely. I'm a big proponent, and I'm actually working on something right now where it will be just literally I wanting to grow a network in my city because it's a good point. There's a lot of communities, a lot of resources. You have school now popping up online. I was in the Facebook group era where, everybody, all these marketers are in Facebook groups, but I mean, I also think there's a lot to be said about having an in-person community and finding that community. And I don't think it's going to be perfect because not everybody's going to be like 100% aligned with what you're doing, but it's out there, and I think it's very important. And if somebody from that success, if somebody's a quote unquote millionaire that's successful, most of them are wanting and willing to help out people that are below them. I have a couple people that I mentored, like they don't pay me anything, that I'm literally just giving, free advice because like I was in that position, and I think most people that have had success wanna connect and mentor. And I think it's the ones that are not actually millionaires. They might have a rented Lamborghini or, whatever. It's more of a facade. That those are the type of individuals that I wouldn't associate with because they're not truly successful. They might have gotten, success selling some course, But the people that you really want to take after, they're out there, they're in your community, they're online, school communities. Um, all it takes is mentoring and just getting in front of people. And if you can show those type of individuals that you're a hard worker and that you're, continuing to put in the effort, those they're going to be attracted to you, if that makes sense. Because they're going to see that, oh, I went through this, I put in this much effort, like I'm going to help this guy out.
Yeah, and it's not just showing up at somebody's doorstep and asking them to be a mentor. You
No,
have to have you have to have proof that you've been putting in the work and you're showing up day after day.
absolutely. Yeah, I think just again, like everybody wants a personal brand now. Doing content like that and like documenting every single day. Like you don't have to have the best content in the world. If you're just starting out, it's going to be really hard for you to give business advice, but show your day to day, show that you're putting in the work. And obviously, that's more for online networking, but more of like an in-person standpoint, just ask questions. Ask them, hey, what do you do? How'd you get here? What advice do you have for somebody younger? Is there anything I can do for you? Can I shadow you, for a day for free? Or like, obviously, like, can I work for you for free type of thing? Um, get in their space without asking or accepting anything from them like monetarily, just, wanting to learn about their successes and how they operate.
And you've brought it up a couple times now, but you've outsourced different parts of your company. How important is that to new entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of outsourcing, even with everything that happened with the support debacle and all that stuff. I'm very much still a big proponent because I think one of the biggest things you can make, one of the biggest mistakes you can make, just somebody starting out, is hiring somebody on a salary to just like do one specific job. Because if I'm paying somebody $3,000 a month, 3,500, 4 grand a month to do one specific job and they're probably working 60% of the time, I could go on Upwork. If you're not familiar with Upwork, it's an hourly pay type of platform. I can go hire a support manager, an escalations manager, a advertising, rep, a media buyer on an hourly basis, and my bill at the end of the month is still going to be $3,000. But now I have three team members that are skilled in what I'm hiring them for, and that's going to help your business grow versus one person that's taking over one of the positions in your business. And then you still have to, you as the business owner, I still have to take care of the escalations, the advertising, maybe the phone calls coming in because that support person's only handling the client emails or something like that.
Yeah, and a good example of this is even this podcast that I've been doing. So it probably takes about 10 hours a week or so to edit an episode, to do the intro, thumbnail, all that. And I'm not an editor. And 10 hours a week is a lot of time for me. So I went ahead and I'm starting to outsource the editing, pay just a fraction of what the time that I have had to allocate to it is. And not only are the edits better, but I have the time back to go out to find the guest, to just continue learning more about podcasting, how to grow the network of guests I can get on, and how to leverage that.
Absolutely. I'm a big proponent of the 80/20 rule that there is 20% of your time that is moving the needle 80%, and the rest of your time is spent on stuff that is not revenue generating and moving your business forward. And if you can identify that and also hire people around your weaknesses, if you have a weakness of, let's just say, posting content, go partner with somebody that's super, consistent and can post the content for you, and you do the back end stuff. So it definitely a proponent of that as well.
Just identifying what you are skilled in, just
Absolutely.
being self-aware to know, I'm not an editor, but I do the podcasting. So let me go ahead and outsource that and improve in what I'm supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what advice would you have to someone who is not crippled by fear, but they're just getting started in their entrepreneurship journey? They don't know if they're going to have that $1 million month. They don't know what's going to happen, but they're putting the work in. They're showing up every day. They just don't know if the end goal is going to come to fruition.
Yeah. I think first off, that needs to be believing in yourself, and that is something that thankfully I had two of the best parents in the world that were always like, we're supportive of whatever you want to do. You can do that. I'll never forget my grandma was always like, you're so smart, you're so handsome, you're so successful. And I think a lot of people have that person in their life. Some people don't, unfortunately, but it's definitely believing in yourself and working towards the goal, because we have a saying in business, and this comes from our loss when we went from the $1 million months down to 30 or 40, is if you can make $1, you can make two. If you can make two, you can make four. If you can make four, you can make six and onward. So if you can do and get that first client or whatever you're selling, if you can sell that first t-shirt, get that first coaching client, whatever you're doing, um, first million view video, first 1,000 view video, you can do it again and again and again and again. And it's the consistent showing up in action that's it's almost inevitable that it will happen. You just have to put your nose down and trust the process.
From a content standpoint, statistically, if you show up for 5 years, you're going to succeed with the volume of videos that you have out there. It's just showing up when no one's watching and no one's subscribing and no one's sharing it.
Yeah, and I've seen that in a couple different ways. And to me, it always comes down to, and it sucks, right? Because I've seen the YouTubers, I used to do YouTube videos, 8 years ago. If you search my name, you can see them. They're very cringy. But, I did that, and I think I got up to 60 subscribers, like nothing, literally nothing. And I think it comes down to, if it's just because something's your passion and you like making YouTube and you do that for 15 years, like I can't promise, I don't think anybody can. I don't think you should expect that that's gonna grow and blossom. But I will say that if you want to succeed as a YouTuber, study the algorithm, study what works, study what's attracting views, and even though you might not like making those videos, you can take that framework and apply it to your channel or your content, and you can see the views. Um, but I think that's where success and passion don't really intersect too well.
And why do you think that is? What about passion just can interfere with that?
Yeah, I think, and I'm not saying you can't have success and you're passionate about what you do, but I think that, from at least from my experience, I was always passionate about building funnels and doing like designs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, what helped our company succeed is sales and building out sales teams and very good processes and systems. And I didn't come from that world. Um, but I had to learn it, and I'm very good at it now, and that's what's allowed us to scale. If I was just still doing funnels for people, I'd probably make a good living, but I wouldn't have had the successes that I have right now. Another example is when I met my business partner, we went into the real estate industry. I had nothing, I didn't know anything about the real estate industry. I had a passion for golf and working with golf courses. But working with golf courses, like, there's only so many, they're very cheap, they don't have large budgets. A lot of times they have in-house marketing people. So just because that's my passion didn't mean that we would have a successful business if we pursued golf courses. So it's kind of identifying, what's going to work in my industry and what's going to work and how am I going to have success, and kind of disassociating some of your passions and sacrificing some of those passions to be able to reach your goal. Again, like, if your goal is to be a million subscriber YouTuber, you're gonna have to follow the Mr. Beast framework. You're not gonna be able to, I don't know if you're familiar with Sam Solik, but he just records himself, and I don't think a lot of people can do that. But I think if you copy the Mr. Beast framework, you see a lot more people that are having success copying that type of viral video content.
What are your thoughts on working for money versus enjoying what specifically it is you are doing?
Yeah, I think that's gonna really come down to what's your end goal and where are you coming from. Because if your end goal is to just have a nice life, make a salary, I think you could absolutely work for pleasure and end up, making a living. But if you want to be a successful millionaire, trillionaire, billionaire, and I hate to use that title because it's kind of corny, but if you want to have a successful business where you're making impact and everything like that, I think you're gonna have to. I shouldn't even say I think. I know you're gonna have to do hard things. You're gonna have to do challenging things for sure because that's the only way that you're gonna be able to get to that point. Um, yeah.
And let's say you can go back in time and talk to the 19-year-old Jake who's just about to dive into the new era, the new transition of getting into business. What would you say to him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say work smarter, for sure. Um, I spent a lot of years working on non-revenue producing activities. Um, I watched a lot of content. I would buy courses. I would watch those videos. I would work on the design of a website, spend months working on the design of a website, but at the end of the day, those are not revenue producing activities. Revenue producing activities are the hard ones, which is cold calling businesses if you're just starting out and don't have a budget, cold email, reaching out, to people, setting meetings, getting feedback on your services, what you offer, and then, obviously make tweaks along the way. But my advice is definitely don't focus on the things that are not going to make you money. Focus on getting money, and you can figure everything out after that.
And what's next for you, Jake? And where can the listeners find you at?
Absolutely. So you can find me at it's just www.jakesetterlun.com. Currently working on two different exciting things. We're in the process of actually exiting some of the marketing agencies that I'm in, which is allowing me to get a little bit more into my passion, which is one-on-one coaching. And it's not like selling a course. I'm talking like literally working one-on-one with people that are starting and scaling their business. Because again, just like we talked about, I can tell you like, hey, you don't need to spend 2 weeks working on your website. You need to be calling 10 businesses every single day and setting meetings. So that, and then just getting really big into real estate. And we're working on a real estate fund too. That's going to allow individuals to get in with us kind of on an equity basis in some of the properties that we're looking at. So yeah,
Nice. All right, Jake, thank you for coming on the show.
absolutely, Matt. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.